Quay lại cốt truyện chính nha. Này là biển khám phá thế giới này. Đây. Làm cái nhiệm vụ gà chưa làm luôn. Chết. Mục tiêu. Đây. Kỳ trước chúng ta đã được Ayaka giao việc giúp đỡ những người dân để lấy thông tin về cái gì bao, đúng rồi. Đôi thần chứ.
It's clear that Thediarygame had done nothing wrong, and still they confiscated his vision. After that, he became a completely different person. I can't claim to fully understand it, but I could tell that he'd lost something very important to him. He went off on a walk, alone, circled the village a few times.
Có ngày trước ra
he announced that he was going to leave and become a
thế
warrior.
mà cái thằng
Truth be told, we aren't
cái thằng
sure
của
whether
thằng gì,
trying to keep him here
thằng người
is
hầu
the right
của
thing to
Ayaka
do.
vẫn còn giữ Vision kìa.
But equally, it doesn't
Có
feel
bị gì
right
đâu,
to let him leave
thậm chí nó
when
còn
he's
gia nhập vào
in
quân
this
gì
state.
tính nổi loạn
He's
luôn.
a lost soul.
Seems like he's a well-respected guy around here.
You must also be here to try and convince Thediarygame to stay. Thediarygame has protected this place ever since he arrived here 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Keeping out the treasure hoarders, fending off any monsters that draw near, resolving quarrels between the villagers. He has put an enormous amount of work into looking after this place.
Cái
And
gì
we
mà
all think the world
cái
of
thằng này
him.
nó giữ Vision là có
But
chừng
now,
không? Nó là
all of
một
a
cái
sudden,
nhân vật hay
he
rồi
says
được.
he plans to leave us. We can't help but wonder.
Vì hồi giờ
Was it
gợi ý trước
something
các
we
bạn
did?
mà.
We will gladly apologize if that's the case. All we want is for him to stay.
You must be Thediarygame. So what's made you want to up and leave all of a sudden?
Đây là tên gì mà? Sao nhìn cô bắp vậy?
It's not a question of why I want to leave, but a question of what reason I would have to stay.
Thế mà tưởng thằng này là một nhân vật hay rồi được, nhưng mà
That's not
lại là
why
một
I chose
ông
to
già của
stay
bắp.
here.
Chết.
And what made me want to come here 30 years ago? And why have I never wanted to leave in all that time? I don't have answers to those questions because I
Vì bạn
can't
chơi đồ đấy.
remember anymore.
Tự nhiên lại ở đây hơn 30 năm không biết tại sao mà không thể rời đi được.
It's like a slice of my memory is gone. In the past, I knew I wanted to stay here. But whatever resolve I had then, it's gone now. So I thought, what's to stop me from moving around instead? The emptiness inside me will be there either way.
Okay. Well, in that case, if we help you rediscover the reason you chose to stay, you won't need to leave anymore, right?
What the fuck? Đi. Trời ơi.
It's not gonna be easy. Oh, maybe if you just try a little harder to remember, then it'll all come flooding back.
Nhìn bên môi. Ngồi nói chuyện mà bye bye ông đó lắc cái đầu theo nhức đầu luôn.
Last time I brought Thediarygame some fruit, I do believe I saw him writing in a diary.
I keep a diary? If you say so. I honestly can't seem to remember.
Oh, yes, you do. And what's more, I remember you saying at the time that you wanted to make a note of a few interesting things. Things which would prove very important at a later date.
Perfect! So if we want to keep Thediarygame from leaving, we just need to find his diary. It must be around here somewhere.
Chỉ cần tìm cái nhật ký là ông già này có thể ở lại bảo vệ ngôi làng này.
We will leave
Được
you
chưa?
to find the diary. We should head back to the village to inform the others of Thediarygame's situation.
Rồi, tìm nhật ký cho ổng này. Ở lại đi làm màu quá. Thiệt luôn á. Nhật ký ở ngay đây mà chứ chưa. Chạy chết.
This looks like Thediarygame's. Let's see what we have here. Today Today, the villagers and I got together to cook dry braised salted fish. I messed up and burned mine a little, so I had to pretend that it was black snakehead instead. Today, I helped rescue a kid who had fallen in the water. After I pulled him out, he told me that his best friend Bamboo was still in the water. I searched the water the whole afternoon before finding out that Bamboo was the name of his pet crab. I went kite flying today. The string broke, so I chased after it as fast as I could. I soon realized I was never going to get it back, so I just found somewhere to sit and watch as it flew away into the distance. Seems like your average diary of daily village life. Huh? Wait, there's more!
Gì đây?
I went to pray at the shrine again today and stayed there a while. The omamori you gave me has faded a little, but it is still my most treasured possession. Now that's the kind of info we're looking for. Time to pay a visit to the shrine.
À, vậy là ổng thời thần sao cái tự nhiên ổng mất vision luôn. Đi, vision ổng bị mờ. Đấy.
So this is the omamori Tejima wrote about. Interesting. Looking at the color and the design,
Đồ của con gái.
my mom would have thought it belonged to a child.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
if he had this with him all the time, there's a chance some of his elemental energy remained on it. Do you think that it might come in handy?
Trời ơi, lại đi tìm cái này nữa thì chạy chết. Đừng có trèo cây nha. Không phải rồi. À đây.
Here we are. This seems to be somewhere that Tejima visited a lot. The soil looks like it's been disturbed.
Tôi biết sao chứ mỗi lần tôi làm cuộc chuyện tự nhiên tôi
Tejima
buồn ngủ
buried
sợ.
something precious here. Something that kept him in the village all these years? Must be something pretty
Kiểu
amazing
như không được
if
đánh
it
đấm
made
phải
him
không?
stick around for 30
Đánh đấm nó mới
years.
vui.
Let's
Trời
dig it
ơi.
up and take a
Rồi,
look.
rồi con cướp chuyện cũng hay đấy nhưng mà coi chữ riêng buồn ngủ.
It looks like a letter.
Kiểu như não các bạn không hoạt động cái đầu.
Must have been written a really long time ago. Konda Village. Sounds so familiar. Where is that place again?
Thì ngay đây nè. Trời ơi. Phải
So
vô
the reason
thì cái
Tejima came here was to wait for someone. But he's been here for 30 years. Oh, guess they didn't show up in the end, huh? Well, let's go give Tejima his stuff back and take it from there.
không thương hả bạn? Tôi chưa làm với cái gì giao thư tình của nhỏ tiểu thư nhà gì ở đây ở chỗ đảo Rito. Hãy chưa giao bức thư tình chưa của tiểu thư nhà trên đảo Rito cho ông gì đó không biết nữa.
Well, I'll be. That's certainly my handwriting. And I guess the omamori and letter belong to me too. I have no memory of anything that's written in this diary. Still, it's clear that I was waiting for someone here, and that I chose to wait for 30 years. Over the years, I must have made a note of anything interesting. Anything that I could share with her when we were finally reunited.
Gái mà chờ đợi
And
30
just
năm.
look at all the things that did happen over the years. The time has flown by so quickly. 30
Còn ngoài đời
years
yêu
feels
xa,
like the blink
yêu
of an
xa
eye.
giỏi lắm, 6 tháng mà không nói chuyện
How could
chia
I
tay
have
luôn.
forgotten something so
Không phải có thêm mấy cái sự
important
nữa
to me?
chứ. Đúng rồi, sự thật ngoài
Now
đời
that
trong
I
game nó
think
khác biệt
about
sao xa
When
nhau
my
quá.
vision was taken
Người ta trong game đợi chờ 30 năm luôn. Trời ơi.
hollowed out. Love, regret, everything I felt for her, it's all disappeared. No, not especially. After all, I've forgotten who she was. Her face, her voice, the things we experienced together. I barely recall any of it.
Quên đi,
It's as
hãy
if
đến
she'd
với người
never
mới.
been in my life to begin with. As if all these years have been nothing but a hazy dream. I think maybe not. If this is something I
Trời
waited
đất.
most of my life for, I suppose I should carry on waiting.
Chờ hơn nữa đây rồi, giờ lại chờ tiếp.
Although, what if she were to turn up eventually, only to find I didn't remember so much as her name? Wouldn't that be upsetting for her? When I think about it like that, I do feel a slight tinge of sadness in my heart. How curious. Why am I thinking like this when I don't even remember who she is? It's just like that feeling of emptiness, the feeling that something is missing. Thank you both for helping me reconnect with my reason for staying here. I shall remain here and keep waiting for her.
Tejima seems to be dealing okay, but still, it makes Paimon really sad.
Trời, bay môi cũng thích tôi hả?
Seems it's just like Ayaka and Tomo were saying. If you lose your vision, you lose all your hopes and dreams too. That certainly explains the state Tejima was in earlier.
Tự nhiên bay môi kêu buồn. Ai, không chịu là... Đó là một gợi ý đây.
Well, let's go find the next person.
Nhưng xin lỗi anh mày không thích Loli nha. Anh mày chỉ thích người lớn thôi.
According to Miss Kamisato, the second one who lost their vision is a samurai from the Tenryou Commission.
Rồi. Bye bye ông, tên là gì? Tên Jima nhé. Chúc ông có 2 cái sừng. Chúng ta sẽ tiếp tục hành trình. Nhẹ xà thế. Hay. Tôi ghét vô hành Inazuma lắm. Map đi to với đồ, thành ra máy bị lắc.
They say the Tenryou Commission is directly controlled by the Shogun. They're the ones responsible for maintaining law and order in Inazuma, the ones actually enforcing the Vision Hunt decree. But why would they take action against one of their own? Paimon doesn't get it. Huh? There seems to be some commotion over there. Let's go see what's happening.
I'll ask one more time. Do you intend to withhold this month's emergency provisions?
Tôi muốn đeo tôi muốn là đeo cây kiếm, nó phải đi như thế này mới gọi là đeo gì cầm kiếm nhật. Cái kiếm bài bài sao nhìn nó phèn lắm mấy ông.
You dare deceive us? Those provisions are essential. Do you understand? Not some goods to be pocketed by greedy samurai.
You samurai think you can just do whatever you please? The Tenryou Commission will hear of this!
Oh, huh? And who are you? One of Kurosawa's gang, no doubt.
What? We just happened to be passing by. We heard the commotion and came to see what the matter was.
Không hớt.
You seem to have come just at the right time. Perhaps you can help us settle this
Được phát
matter.
ta đâu phải là quan cỡ vùng đất
He's
này
a
đâu.
samurai and a member of the Shogun's army. They issue emergency provisions to the area, and he's the one responsible for distribution. In the past, we'd simply ask him for provisions and everything would be delivered. Now, he suddenly refuses to give us anything. He's keeping the provisions for himself, I just know it. We'll starve without them.
No one seems to care about us. We used to think Kurosawa was a kind man, but he's shown his true colors. He's the same as all the other samurai. It's no wonder all the visions have been confiscated. The Raiden Shogun doesn't need people like him helping her rule the nation.
This must be one of the people Ayaka asked us to help. But why would she ever want us to help someone like him?
Tại sao mới giúp thằng này?
Maybe
Nghe
we
thì
should
cướp
talk
lương
to
thực rồi nghe thấy ghét rồi.
Kurosawa and see what he has to say.
Đặt mũi lưng lòng ngầu các kiểu đồ.
I've never even heard of these emergency provisions. I don't know whether it's rumors or whether they're trying to blackmail me. But either way, it's ridiculous. If I was hoarding supplies, would I still be the poor man I am today? My own family can barely get by as it is. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got other matters to attend to. And that's the first bit of truth I've heard all day. The Shogun's army told me that I was unworthy of my vision. And they said I was slacking off in my work. Apparently, I'd even disappointed the Raiden Shogun. And that's why they confiscated my vision.
Well, that's strange. You were helping enforce the Vision Hunt Decree. Why would you be unworthy of your vision?
To be perfectly honest, I don't seem to remember the details. All I know is that I would perform certain things every month. But I don't recall what they were. And it's not just that. I have this unsettling feeling, like someone owes me something.
Does it have to do with the missing emergency provisions?
Nè.
I didn't take any. Like I said, if I was taking them for myself, I wouldn't be going through such hard
Tao có
times
thấy nhà
right
mày
now.
đâu mày xem mày nói nhà mày
To
sống
top it
cực
all
khổ.
off, my house was just raided by treasure hoarders, which is why I came here in the first place. I was chasing after them when I got held up by these two. If you don't believe me, go find the treasure hoarders yourself. If there were any emergency provisions to be had, they would have found them.
Huh. He seems to be telling the truth. But we better confirm. Let's go round up those treasure hoarders and see what they have to say. We should be able to follow their tracks. They couldn't have gone too far.
Rồi, đến lúc hành hiệp trượng nghĩa rồi. Đấy mới gọi là tinh thần của samurai. Let's go. Wow. Ôi. À, mấy thằng đạo bộ đòn cùi bắp kia kìa. Whoop.
We really outdid ourselves this time. All those samurai houses packed with goods. We really hit the jackpot. I mean, besides that one house.
You haven't seen anything yet. There'll be a lot more where this came from. Today's just the beginning. I'll be leading you all on an epic journey of pillage and plunder that will go down in hoarder history.
You demand, boss.
These seem like the treasure hoarders we're after. Let's teach them a lesson.
Another test subject.
Dễ chưa? Mặc dù tôi chém rất màu mè nhưng lại có bác 325 đầm.
Order guide you.
Trong khi anh Nhung Ly chỉ cần gọi ra rồi quy một phát
There
sạch.
goes all the Mora. We worked hard to steal that, you know? Come on, boss. Think of something.
Not bad, kid.
Vì trong cốt truyện anh lên bá bên rồi nhưng mà trong thực chiến trong game lại phê. Mới đeo ta được.
Kurosawa. Oh, I remember. So he's the one who sent you after us, huh? Just our luck. I knew he shouldn't have hit that place.
So what did you see inside? Was it stuffed with food supplies?
Food supplies? You kidding? That place was a complete mess. All we found was a strange-looking box, hopefully with valuables inside. I didn't want anyone else to see it, so I was planning on opening it myself once we got back. But now that you've caught us, how about we make a deal? That little box for our freedom. What do you say?
You've got a deal. Now show us what's in the box.
Huh?
What the?
There's nothing in here but IOUs.
Yeah, a lot of them too. And they all seem to be made out to the owner of a general goods store. A Miss Aoi. We're talking tons of Mora here. We better talk to this Miss Aoi and get to the bottom of this. As for you guys, you're free to go. Just pray that our paths don't cross again.
Nào cũng tha mấy thằng bỏ đâu, mấy thằng phản diện ta.
So, we redeemed ourselves for some
Thì có ngày
IOUs.
nào tôi cũng đi đánh giết.
Does that mean we broke even?
Đánh giết
Shut
trăm
it.
thằng.
Let's just get out of here.
Thì thấy em nhiều cái luôn. Rồi đến lúc điều tra giấy nợ rồi.
Welcome to Tsukumomono Groceries. We've got everything you need. Can I help you find something? Or perhaps there's something you want to inquire about? Ah, so you're friends of Kurosawa, I take it? Perhaps you're here to pay
Còn
off
cái
his
móc tao
debts.
nghèo thấy mẹ luôn.
Whoa, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're just here to learn where they all came from. How did Kurosawa end up owing you so much money? Did he buy anything super expensive here?
Let me think. Kurosawa would come regularly to purchase large quantities of foodstuffs. He'd always put the payment on his own account. However, the price of provisions began to skyrocket recently, and his salary was no longer enough to cover the cost. So, he started writing out IOUs to cover whatever he couldn't afford of the usual amount.
So that's how he was getting those emergency provisions. But why did he have to purchase a usual amount? If the prices increased, couldn't he just buy less?
Well, if you think about it, the citizens receiving the emergency provisions must have been carefully calculating how much they needed to sustain them each time. Kurosawa thought that it would be quite the disappointment for them if they found they didn't have enough, especially after such long and careful planning. So he deemed it necessary to take on the debt rather than let the people down.
Wow. Kurosawa was purchasing all the
Holy
emergency
shit.
provisions at his own expense.
Này tốt thế nhỉ?
And no one ever appreciated what he did. They just complained and held him accountable.
People's attitudes will always reflect their circumstances. In the face of hardship, nobody cares to think twice. If you ask me, had Kurosawa told everyone the truth about the supplies from the start, then there wouldn't be such a severe backlash now. Of course, I'm sure there would still have been some unrest. What he was doing was truly a thankless deed. As for why he chose to spend his own money on emergency provisions and never tell anyone, I'm still not too clear myself. If you're still curious, why don't you go ask him yourself? I see. That reminds me, it seems that his vision was recently confiscated. Most unfortunate. If he doesn't clear the debt on his name, he'll have no choice but to sell that sword that is so dear to him.
Sword? What sword?
Oh, didn't he tell you? He possesses a very valuable blade. He's carried it for years now. I've asked him about its origins. He told me that it was a gift from his father, that it was too precious to sell. In hindsight, I regret that I never made an offer on it. Everything has its price, at least that's what I think.
Mọi vật trên thế gian
Why
này
don't you ask
đều
him
phải
about
định
the
giá.
sword
Thế
yourself?
tao phải định giá được không?
Perhaps
Nhỏ
it'll even
đi
provide
con
you
chúa
with
gì?
the answers you're looking for. Oh, but before you go, if you would kindly settle today's bill.
But we didn't buy anything.
Information is also a kind of commodity, wouldn't you agree?
Một con
Don't
kẹt.
worry,
Tin
I
tao phá
won't
quán
charge
không?
much for information about Kurosawa. Nothing we ever discussed was explicitly confidential anyway.
2.000 mua ra
Let
ăn
me
cướp à?
think. 2,000 mora should be a fair price.
At least we now know where the emergency
Trong khi
provisions
đó
are
tôi
coming
quýnh một
from.
cái ngoài tiền mặt tới tôi thấy được tới 60.000 mua ra.
Kurosawa has a priceless sword in his possession. Let's go talk to Kurosawa again and see if he can
Nếu mấy
remember
bạn tiền
anything.
như đó tiền không nhầm nhòi gì, đừng đổi tôi 1.000, 1 đồng một ra cũng rất là quý giá. Trời ơi, dạo này úp nhân vật thiếu tiền các bạn luôn. Nghèo rồi. Phải thêm mấy tôi video này thì cày rừng vậy, kiếm rừng các kiểu đồ như đi ăn cướp á.
What are you doing here all by yourself? Where did those other two go?
I presented them with a choice. Either they left or I drew my sword. They left. It turned out to be a real time saver, actually. Perhaps I should start using it more often. Did you manage to track down the treasure hoarders? Everything I said was true, right?
That just about sums it up. It turns out that you really were distributing emergency provisions, but they were all purchased at your own expense.
Strange. Is that really the kind of person I was? I don't really have any such recollection. Even after all you've told me, I still don't remember anything. Why was I purchasing emergency provisions for everyone? And why would I put myself in such a difficult situation? I really don't understand. But I cannot deny that when I brandished my sword to scare those two away, I could sense that my body was somehow reluctant to do so. This sword was once wielded by my father. I remember once when I was young, I wanted to sneak out with the blade and show it off to the kids next door. My father ended up catching me in the act and scolded me severely. What did he say? I can't seem to remember that either. It would seem that I forgot many important things when my vision was taken from me. So many memories gone. Forever. No matter how hard I try to remember, all I can remember now is my father telling me that this blade bore his life's creed. Before he passed away, he placed the sword in my hands and said to me, "With this sword,
Gì hãy?
you should..."
Hãy làm gì?
Hey, if you look carefully,
Điệt cô.
there seems to be some words engraved on the hilt. Can you recognize the words?
Nói đổi đại đi.
Virtue and justice? Somehow those two
Rất tiếc
words
là
seem to
dịch ra là công lý
explain
chứ không phải là nhân
everything
nghĩa.
now. Taking on seemingly endless debts to make others happy. I guess that must have been my greatest ambition after all. But what use are virtue and justice? I purchased the provisions for those in need, and look how things ended up. The Tenryo Commission seized my vision, and the very people I was so desperately trying to help refused to understand me. And the irony of all of it is, I somehow still felt sorry when threatening them with my blade. I'm incapable of being a good person, yet I'm equally unable to be bad. I don't know what to do with myself.
Yet another troubled soul.
Muốn làm người xấu dễ mà. Gia nhập hợp đạo ban đầu là được làm người xấu ngay giờ.
The Yashiro Commission would surely help cover his expenses. In any case, we must never let him sell off that sword. Yeah, seems like losing all ambition is a terrible experience. Fortunately for us, you don't have a vision. Let's go find the next poor soul.
Tại sao mình đối bài mà tao không có vision? Tao có vision tôi vẫn mạnh hơn mình nữa. Ui mẹ. Bởi vì tao không có vision tao yếu xìu nè. Đúng rồi, tối nay là phải giáo huấn bài mồi bằng những đòn roi rồi. Ai chết, nói vậy là bậy quá rồi.
Third person who had their vision taken is supposed to be a famous sword master around these parts. Paimon he's the present-day master of Miko Shisui art. Sounds pretty impressive. This is his dojo. Luckily, there's some people around. Let's go talk to them.
Nanako, don't worry. Sensei will be fine. Those thugs that challenged the dojo were strong, but he fought them all off in the end, didn't he?
Maybe, but I'm still worried about him. Things have gotten dangerous before in the past, but it's never shaken him. This time, though...
It's just because he's been possessed, that's all. Once the exorcism has taken place, he'll be right as rain in no time.
Hey there! Did something happen?
Who are you? I don't care whether you're trespassers or
dám hỏi
those
câu đó à?
harassers while
Tao là cái
Sensei is
thằng
impaired. Get out of here immediately.
cái gì?
Don't make me draw my blade.
Kỹ sĩ
or you
danh
won't
dự
live to
monster.
regret it.
Rồi gì?
No,
Đánh
you
bại
guys
phun bên
are
lông cái kiểu đồ.
we just came
Dám
here
xem
to...
thường thôi.
Disciples?
Yep. We've heard all about the mighty master of Miko Shisui art. It's the whole reason we came all this way, to seek him out and ask him to train us. But then we got here and overheard you talking about how he got possessed or something?
From the way you're dressed, it doesn't look like you're from around here. Please, accept my apologies. We've had so many people trying to cause us trouble recently that we're on high alert. You haven't arrived at the best of times, I'm afraid. Sensei got possessed recently, and he's still recovering. He's not able to take on any new disciples for the time being.
Con này cho gắt.
I see you are earnest in your pursuit. Okay, how about this? My fellow disciple Nanako and I will explain Sensei's situation to you in a little more detail. Then you can decide whether to stay or to leave. Sensei's name is Domon, a name I'm sure you've already heard. Though self-taught, he mastered the art of the sword to a high level. He then proceeded to defeat many other prominent sword masters, never losing a single fight. He once said that his goal was to become the best sword master in the world. And so, even while training us, he continued to hone his own art. His fervor truly inspired us, and we trained hard.
Làm kiếm sĩ đệ nhất thiên hạ là cũng phải có vision, là cũng phải đánh bại được thần chứ.
Not long
Đệ
ago,
nhất thiên hạ được.
Sensei had his vision taken away.
À, nó có vision
He
kìa.
hasn't been the same since. He says the strangest things over and over.
Có vision để là xài phép được. Mà xài phép được lại không đánh lại lôi thần. Úi giời. Bắp, người bắp, không học đâu.
So, we've asked the shrine maidens from the Grand Narukami Shrine to perform an
Phụ của bắp gì
exorcism.
dạy gì?
But if I'm honest,
Sư phụ tôi muốn
I still
dạy
have
tôi
my
là
doubts
phải
over
quýnh được
whether
thần
he'll
trước đã,
completely
rồi
recover.
hãnh tính đến chàng dạy nha.
Narukami Shrine? What's that?
You haven't heard of it? It's the largest shrine on Narukami Island.
Tại cái ngôi đền tu trên kia kìa. Trời ơi, làm lễ thần tế thần anh đạo rồi, chứ em biết.
Not that we'd have any means of involving the head shrine maiden, of course. But even one of the ordinary shrine maidens from the Grand Narukami Shrine would have clear power and authority to perform an exorcism. So don't worry, Nanako. Sensei is going to be just fine. The exorcism will take place this evening. You're both more than welcome to come and watch if you're interested.
So, losing your vision can cause possession? Guess we should come back this evening and see for ourselves.
Shh. So you decided to come. It's a good thing you didn't arrive any earlier. You would have had to witness Sensei in one of his fits of madness. Just now, when Nanako was attending to him, she heard him whispering a few names to himself. When she asked him who the people were, he suddenly looked panic-stricken and pushed her away. It looked like he was in great distress. He was covering his ears and looking frantically around him with bloodshot eyes. All the while he kept calling those names. Some of them we knew. Others we didn't recognize. But they all seemed to be the names of sword masters he had defeated in the past. One of them was Anzai. He used to be a fellow disciple of Sensei's. His senior, in fact. But Sensei defeated him in a duel many years ago. and he has been a wanderer ever since. Sensei wouldn't stop calling his name.
Lô.
Thankfully, the shrine maidens managed to subdue him, so the exorcism can finally continue. The ritual has now begun. All we can do is patiently await the result. Here's hoping Sensei will be back to his normal self very soon. Please, excuse me for a moment while I fetch some water. If he wakes up, he is sure to be thirsty.
Trời già vậy rồi làm kiếm tiền đệ nhất gì nữa. Về quê dưỡng lão trong nội.
Could they be here to mess up the exorcism? We won't let them get away with it. Come on, let's go after them.
Let's go.
Seems they aren't here. Should we keep going further up? Is this definitely the right place? Let's look a little further up. Aha! Suspicious person sighted! That's gotta be him!
How did you catch up with me
Tự nhiên đứng
so
lại.
quickly?
Tự nhiên đứng lại và bảo chạy nhanh
Are
lên.
you sure you're Domon's disciples? You move even quicker than he does. Unless... I guess it's been a few years. Maybe his skills have improved again.
Excuse me? We're the ones asking the questions here. First off, who are you? And what are you doing sneaking around these parts? You seem like bad news, mister.
Bad news? I'll have you know I trained side by side with Domon back in the day, long before you ever showed up. I don't care to talk about that time anymore. But if you must know, I am Domon's senior.
Là ông này sư huynh chứ không phải là sư phụ.
Wait,
Huynh nhưng mà già dữ hả?
that means you must be...
Anzai. Yes, that's me. Because I don't wish to see Domon or anyone else associated with him ever again. When we were young, we trained under the same sword master, studying Make-Yoshi Sui art together. I had begun training 5 years before him, and everyone looked up to me as a steady and dependable older disciple. Practitioners of Make-Yoshi Sui art seek to achieve stillness of mind, freedom from all agitation. So the majority of disciples are indifferent to rank and reward. I was no exception. But Domon was different. The first thing he did when he joined was go straight to our sensei and ask him, with a beaming smile on his face, how to become the best in the world. Sensei scolded him and told him that the art of the sword should not be used for such vain ends. Sensei said that coveting the title of the best sword master, barely days into his training, showed that he had a fickle mind, and that this would impede him from ever mastering the blade. I thought so too at the time, but Domon began making swift progress in his training, and even started catching up with me. Only then did I realize that it was Domon who had long since freed his mind from all agitation. He was consumed by his singular desire to become the best in the world. He sought nothing less than perfection in the art of the sword, and nothing could deter him from this goal, no matter what stood in his way.
Sure sounds like he meant business. So how come you don't want to ever see him again?
Because until he arrived, I was convinced that I would succeed our sensei as the master of Make-Yoshi Sui art. Of all the disciples, I was the most gifted. I had trained the longest. Everyone had high expectations for me. Domon's arrival changed everything. When we sparred, I lost not just the match, but my pride and my status too. I fled the dojo that day and never looked back. Later, I heard that he sparred with Sensei too. Sensei was advanced in years by then, and unfortunately, that match used up every last ounce of energy in his body. After that, I wanted nothing further to do with him.
Deep down, though, I still respected his mastery of the blade and his commitment to the art of the sword. So, when I heard rumors that he had lost his mind, my first reaction was to dismiss them as false. How could he, of all people, have lost his mind? His mind was the sharpest of them all. He had practiced Meikyo Shisui art to perfection. I decided to quietly come and see if it were true. Then, to my complete astonishment, I heard him call my name. I thought mine was a name he had long since forgotten. So you see, I came here not to cause him any harm. I just wanted to see for myself.
Dạ, ông này là sư huynh của sư
Okay.
phụ của
You've heard my story. You should get back
Lần hồi
now.
nãy. Đấy.
The exorcism is probably finishing.
Nó vô danh tiểu tốt quá tên, tôi không nhớ tên thằng đó.
Seems like we got it wrong this time. He wasn't here to mess up the exorcism at all. Still, Paimon's not sure we should bring him back with us. Let's go see how the exorcism's coming along.
What? You're saying he isn't possessed? Does that mean he's just lost his mind? But how is that possible? No, I refuse to believe it. Something's clearly wrong.
Nanako, please. Try not to get agitated.
I am sorry. With what powers I have, I can find no sign of any malignant spirit having possessed Domon. But spirits may take a myriad of forms in this world, many of which I cannot claim to have witnessed myself. Thus, I dare not rule out possession with complete certainty. And all is certainly not lost, for I received word not long ago that Lady Yai has taken an interest in your sensei's case.
Lady Yai? Is that the same Lady Yai that I think you mean?
The head shrine maiden of the Grand Narukami Shrine? That's wonderful news! Then Sensei will be sure to recover.
Correct. Lady Yai is most knowledgeable indeed, and has abundant experience in the exorcism of evil spirits and aversion of great calamities. I am unable to say for certain whether an evil spirit has possessed your sensei, but Lady Yai can give a conclusive verdict.
Excuse me, Miss Inagi, but I must ask, should we prepare a greeting gift for Lady Yai?
That won't be necessary. All that is required of you is your timely arrival at the Grand Narukami Shrine. Lady Yai does not like to be kept waiting. I must leave now, but we will meet soon at the shrine. I wish Domon a full and speedy recovery.
Who'd have thought Lady Yai herself would have taken notice of our sensei's case?
Do you mean to say that Sensei isn't renowned enough to deserve Lady Yai's attention?
No, that's not what I meant at all. You misunderstand me. I just mean this is Lady Yai, the head shrine maiden. She has direct and close contact with the almighty Shogun herself. Anyway, you should join us too, tomorrow. Given that you've traveled all this way just to meet our sensei, we, the disciples of Meikyo Shisui art, will do our best to help you.
Không chừng một nhân vật năm sau mới.
Sure! After all, everyone seems pretty excited about Lady Yai. We're curious to meet her too. Who knows? Maybe we'll be able to find out a thing or two about the Raiden children from her.
Mở tele rồi, khỏi phải đi bộ.
Do you think that's
Kìa,
Lady
giấy điện
Yai?
nhân kìa. Trời ơi.
Oh, no
Biết ngay là nhân vật
wonder
năm sau
Junior
mà.
was so excited. She has a really striking presence.
Cái mạnh mẽ gì?
Is it
Đẹp
just
với lời.
Paimon?
Ồ.
Or did she look right at us just now?
Gái gái gái.
Nothing.
Gái 5 sao, gái
It's
5
not
sao.
like she's ever seen us
Gái 5
before.
sao chất lượng.
Keep away from me. I gave up the art of the sword.
Nhìn cặp mấy ông nhìn cặp đùi kìa, cặp đùi trắng trắng
As you can
trắng
see,
còn hơn hung
Lady
thao nữa.
Domon has persisted in this state
Tao
for
đùi
some time
trắng
now.
rồi này
He
rồi còn
appears
trắng
to
hơn
see
tao nữa.
those who have lost to him in
Ê,
duels
tay cho hỏi
past,
nữa, trời
gathered all
ơi.
around him to persecute
Được.
him.
Lady Ai, it must be a possession, right? This is nothing like him at all. In the past, no matter what came his way, he would always face it with a confident smile.
I'm sorry. It is clear to me that your sensei is not possessed by any evil spirit.
But then does that mean he...
Yes. This is a change in the person himself. Unable to cope with the tremendous pressure he was under, he suffered a spiritual collapse.
Không, có
With his
hiện
wits impaired, he finally descended
cảm giác mà giống như tôi đang muốn
madness.
từ cái góc
As
nhìn phía
one
dưới
who
nhìn
is
lên
thrown
coi
into
nó
the
có cái gì
sea, though
không
he
á.
fights back desperately against his
Tôi
predicament,
lại cái những suy nghĩ biến
it
thái
does
gì.
nothing to prevent his descent into the depths. As for what has triggered this change, I
Khi
believe
bạn
it
thấy một
must
cô
be
gái
the
rất là
loss
đẹp
of his
bị bấn loạn
vision.
hiểu không? Bạn
For to be
làm mọi thứ.
stripped of one's vision is to be stripped of one's
Nhưng mà
ambition.
đúng
Stripped of his
kiểu như là
ambition?
năng lực mình có hạn
But
ấy,
Lady Ai,
nếu mình không làm được.
even without his ambition,
Buồn lại buồn
why should he
ngay.
suffer such a
Trời.
dramatic change? How does that explain his descent into
Không
madness?
sao, tôi trong
Your
game thì tôi
school
có nguyên thạch để
practices make
sở
you
hữu những vật
shisui
mình
art,
thích
does
rồi
it
đúng không?
not?
Rước em về nhà.
Stillness of
Vinh nào.
mind, freedom from all
Đấy.
agitation. What a fine notion that would be if any in this world could ever hope to achieve it. There was once one who claimed to be indifferent to rank and reward, and who fled enraged when defeated by his junior. And then there was an aged swordmaster who was aggrieved enough that he crossed blades with a disciple he himself had taught. Then, what of the one who crossed blades with his own sensei and beloved fellow disciple, and defeated them both? Can one truly remain unagitated, of still mind in moments such as these?
Lady Ai, I'm not sure I understand.
The path of the sword master is filled with twists and turns. It is no small undertaking to pursue the position of greatest sword master in the world. It requires one to take their sword firmly in both hands and cut down the hopes and dreams of others, even those of one's closest companions. Only a deep commitment to his ambition to become the best made it possible for him to rise above the pain of these encounters, to focus on the way ahead. When that ambition disappeared, he began to doubt himself. As he battled his growing anxiety, he slowly descended into the state you see him in now. Much like a certain fatally flawed friend of mine.
Poor Sensei. To think he's been suffering so greatly.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Father, Sensei, Ansai.
That's enough.
Huh? Isn't that Ansai? Where did he come from? Did he follow us the whole way here?
Ansai, why are there two of you? Is that you or a ghost? You're here for revenge, aren't you? I knew it would come. I never should have.
You're right to assume that my feelings towards you are far from kindly. But I didn't come here to settle a score. It's been so long now that I made peace with it years ago. You did nothing wrong that day. I couldn't face the humiliation. That's why I ran. I don't think most of the people you beat along the way would hold it against you. On the contrary, when you cut our ambitions short, we entrusted them to you, in the hopes that they might carry you further. Now I know that we can't place our hopes in you any longer, since you've been stripped of your ambitions too. But that is no reason to strip them of theirs. Follow the way of the sword all the way to the highest peak. You taught them that, didn't you?
But what if one day, the same thing happens to them? I put everything I had into trying to become the best. But what if it was all a huge mistake right from the start?
If there's a chance they'll end up like me one day, I'd rather they stay where they are now than go any further down this path.
Have you asked them what they think?
Sensei, after you rescued me from the hands of the pirates, I told myself I would follow in your footsteps for the rest of my days. I can't know whether I will suffer in my future as you do now. All I know is that here and now, in the present, I wish to continue. I want to keep going until the day that I can stand before everyone with my head held high and announce that I, like my sensei Domon before me, am a master of Meikyo Shisui art.
Nanako's far from the
Bây giờ
only
tôi
one.
hiểu sơ sơ rồi.
Actually,
Mấy đứa này định dùng thông não chi thuật để làm cho ông này bớt bị điên lên.
You can place the ambition you once had in their hands. Being stripped of your ambition is something that's never happened to me. So I
tới tự
can't
nhiên sức
claim to
mạnh không não chi
understand
thuật mấy người
it.
này
But I
trỗi
do
dậy
know
lên
what it
đúng không?
feels like to have your ambitions crushed. That's what happened on the day that you so effortlessly defeated me. So, just as I once placed my ambitions onto you, it is time for you to release yours into their custody. You are not in the same position that I was. When I left, I had nothing to my name. But you have a great number of worthy disciples.
I understand. I'm sorry to have made you worry for me, and for the state of Meikyo Shisui art. I no longer have the resolve to become the best in the world. The emptiness and suffering inside of me will not abate, so I cannot hope to still my mind and be free of agitation. But as your sensei, I shall commit to imparting unto you everything I have learned in my life so far. This is my promise. And I humbly ask Anzai, my senior, to hold me to my word.
You can count on that. I'd be checking in on you occasionally anyway, just to make sure you hadn't lost your mind again. But I am now used to the life of a wanderer. I do not belong in the dojo anymore, so I will simply stop by once in a while to make sure you aren't cutting any corners with them. Well, don't just stand there staring at me. Say thank you to Lady Yai and then get yourself back home.
So even though his ambition was taken away, his disciples can take it over on his behalf. Guess that sort of solves this one, huh?
Traveler, a moment, please. Lady Yai has some words for you.
So, my intuition was correct. The wind that blows from afar carries fresh life to these shores.
Xin chào
For us to meet now is premature.
Được gặp gỡ tôi là một vinh hạnh.
Nevertheless, you set foot on these islands at precisely the
Em sĩ
right
danh dự
moment.
của mọi ta. Đánh bại Phong Ma Long. Rất là nhiều chiến công ở ly dừa à. Đúng rồi. Quýnh được và quýnh luôn qua chấp chính thứ 11 Thediarygame luôn.
Don't disappoint me.
Đừng có xem tôi là người bạn nhỏ, tôi người lớn rồi.
Ooh, Lady Yai seems to have taken a real interest in you. She seems super mysterious. Paimon's so curious what she really meant by all that.
Cái là phải theo thôi, đúng
We can
không?
come back to it another time. For now, we should go report back to Miss Kamisato.
Cái video cốt truyện tới đây thôi. Chỉ tiêu rồi. Còn quay hoài mệt quá. Đi nghỉ ngơi đây. Rồi, video đến đây thôi. Cảm ơn anh em theo dõi nha. Đừng quên để lại một nút đăng ký và like cho video này nha. Hẹn like vào anh em vào những video cốt truyện kế tiếp. Bye.
Narukami, please.